What's going on, my YouTube fellas and family? Uh, just want to let you guys know this is part 3 of the Align Trex 650X Dominator. And I just finished putting the motor on. I just finished putting the servos. I got all 3 Cyclic servos. These things went in pretty easy. I had to center them. Hold on, let me just get the... Gotta get this side. Yeah, so you can see. Just one thing I gotta cover now. Most of you, all right? Do you see where they have to screw in the servos? Now there's a carbon fiber piece that you gotta hold on. Hold on. Now do you see it where the screws go in? Well, basically there's a carbon fiber piece that you gotta put on that, but before you put that on, there's these couplings, these cups that you have to insert, then put it on. But what happens is that when you put those couplings on, apparently they were too long and they were preventing me from screwing the screws in all the way. So you had all this jiggling with the servos; they wouldn't go in tight. So I had to do away with it, and they went in just fine. Yeah, they're supposed to go like in here, but behind. Okay, let me show you. Between that space, but there was a space there because the couplings were too big, so it actually caused the servo to jiggle around. So it was really frustrating. It took me about a half hour to figure that one out. This went in pretty easy. Now, what I really love about this, that putting in the elevator servo was actually really easy, because on most helicopters, it's really a pain in the ass, and I can't tell you how many times I threw my kits up against the wall because it was so... God, it was terrible. Same thing with the tail servo, the rudder. This went in without a problem. Now this is I believe let's see, that is an Align DS 825 high voltage brushless, and yeah, that went in without a problem either. Just you have a lot of screws. You got these screws on the side right here, and then you have like a plethora of all different screws in there. You see? So I had to Loctite that. Other than that, everything's been Loctited, and I started work on the tail. I had to pretty much Loctite everything in there, but before I did that, I had to open this up and literally grease everything up. Now in here you have 2 sets of bearings, and they had to be greased up, and all these screws have to be Loctited. Now, anytime you guys are Loctiting these tail linkages, you see all these different screws, you got to be careful, especially with these screws right here. Let me show you. All right, hold on, let the camera zoom in. Okay, there we go. This piece right here has a sleeve bearing. It's like a sleeve bearing, and you got to be careful when you're Loctiting that not to get any Loctite on that, because sometimes when you put Loctite on the screw, the Loctite will slide on and get onto that sleeve, and if that happens, you're going to be in big trouble, because it's going to make this tail very stiff to move. It's going to cause that servo to really overheat, and it might blow out. I had that problem with the 500, and I had to order a new part, which cost me like $20 and wait like 3 weeks for it, because the part, believe it or not, was out of stock. Boy, let me tell you something, that was a nightmare. So I really don't like to Loctite anything in this tail. I'll Loctite these screws right here that hold on to the actual tail itself, but I try not to Loctite these ones with the moving linkages, because I had that bad experience, and it was a whole nightmare. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Now, hold on, I have the tail here, so most of you know that this is the next thing that goes in. Again, I had to take this apart. Now these have these hexagonal bars that actually come out, and basically what I had to do is pull these out, and again, this came with 2 thrust bearings. I'm going to do you guys a favor and show you. Hold on. Just a second, all right? Just bear with me 1 minute, fellas. Hold on. I don't have anything to hold my camera in place, so... Alright, so... Alright. 1 second. Almost there. Alright. Alright, you see them? They come out. And I'm going to show you right here. Alright, so pretty much these had to be oiled up, these 2 sets of bearings, because when you get this, the factory puts a tiny bit of oil. Now this, when I got this, was very stiff, and it had like this ratcheting feel to it, like it wasn't really, it wasn't silky smooth like it is now. So I advise you guys to oil all your parts up, even your parts with the head. When you have the main rotor head, you got to take that whole thing apart. In fact, when you buy the main rotor head, the screws come loose very easily with the feathering shaft. As for the company to say, okay, take it apart, take all the thrust bearings apart, take the feathering shaft out, take the rubber bushings. Now, you can get soft rubber bushings or stiff ones depending on what you guys like. Now, getting back to the tail here, these have to be lubricated. Now, you can do that with your own grease, which I don't advise, or use the grease that comes with the kit. And you'll see a difference in how easy it is to move these gears, these umbrella. No, this is an umbrella gear, and this is a main rear gear for the torque tube, which this is going to mesh with the main gear. Yeah, so you see how these hexagonal bolts go in? They're made of metal, so you can Loctite them, and essentially this adds a little rigidity to the tail too, so these screws don't strip out using plastic. Now, anytime, again, we covered in my previous parts that anytime you have metal to metal, they have to be Loctited with thread locker or thread. Come on. So, but in some cases, when you have metal to plastic, you don't have to Loctite them. They're called self-tapping. And that's exactly what you want. But in this case, these all have to be Loctited. So let me cover the essentials. Okay. So in part 3, I had to put on all the servos, including the tail servo. All right, see it? Motor's in. I started work on the tail. And so far, everything went silky smooth. And I really hope you guys enjoy this build, man. I really hope everyone gets their own helicopter. Just stay away from those clones. If you got to save up for a decent helicopter, Align is a good brand. There's another brand called Alz or ALZRC, which isn't too bad. Hobby King is alright, but I wouldn't use them too much. So, yeah. Alright, guys. When I install the tail, I'll cover part 4. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe.